SV Math Teach here again, reminding you to like and subscribe if you like the sound of my gravelly voice. Our last video in Unit 2 is on linear equations, traditionally written in what's called slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. In slope-intercept form, the m is your slope, your b is your y-intercept, y and x are variables. Some teachers will reference the fact that the m might stand for the movement of the graph and b might stand for the beginning value where the graph starts on the y-axis. That's not necessarily what the m and b stand for, but it's as good of a guess as any. So y equals mx plus b is the form that a linear equation or a linear function would take. And below in this box you see that it's laid out where the variables m and the variable b are what we use as mathematicians to represent slope and y-intercept in our slope-intercept form. Now I have a couple examples because I want you to know the difference between what we've done and what we're doing now. Upper left-hand corner. If you get a job where you make $10 an hour, you might be able to write down an equation that looks like this. This is a proportional relationship. This is a linear equation, but it's proportional. It's proportional because there's no other information, so we assume that we're starting with no money, and we earn money based on the number of hours worked. But on the right-hand side, total savings if I get a $10 an hour job, but I'm adding that to a $500 savings account. So I already have money, and now I'm going to add on to that money. Look how my equation is going to change. I'm going to write y equals, I still have 10x because I'm still earning $10 per hour, but I have additional $500, and this additional $500 is that y-intercept we've been talking about. So we have the amount I'm paid per hour, we have how much money I started with, and together, these two things form a linear equation. Once again, this is linear as well, but one is proportional and one isn't. This is not proportional. Now, we don't mind that it's not proportional. It doesn't make it bad that it's not proportional. It's just not proportional. The example underneath, just to show that things could be negative as well. If I go on a diet and lose half a pound a week, I could write down an equation, y equals -1/2 times x. X is the number of weeks, y is the amount of weight that I lose, right? This is proportional all day long. But on the right-hand side, I am 170 pounds. If I wanted to write an equation where I calculate my total weight, I would still begin with my loss of 1/2 pound per week, but I'd have to account for the fact that I'm beginning at 170 pounds. So one more time in purple, this is a linear equation. This is a linear equation. This is proportional. This is not proportional. And because you're going to be asked sometimes to identify what makes something proportional or not, if you see a beginning value, whether it's positive or negative, that makes it not proportional. That's key for you. Now, you might be able to do two more things with linear equations. One is to look at a graph that's been created and write a linear equation. So in blue, I have a positive slope. It's positive because I can see that it goes up and right. So I'm going to go ahead and have a positive slope here. As for what my slope is going to be, I'm going to identify 2 points. I see this one, which by the way is my y-intercept. So my y-intercept always comes at the end, right? -1 because that's -1. And I see another point right here that blue line goes through. So I'm going to count rise is 2 up, and my run is 3 over. So I have a slope of 2/3. So my equation is y equals 2/3, clean that up, x -1. Right? That's all there is to this. Very simple equation. Y equals 2/3 x -1 is the model for that blue graph. Let's do the purple one. Y-intercept, look at that. Right there is 2, so y equals, I'm going to leave some space for my slope, but I'm going to put +2. And now I need another spot, right? So I see these 2 points. Let's zoom right in. I'm looking at this and this. I'm going to go ahead and count rise of -1 and run of +2. This looks like a -1/2 to me, so I have -1/2 is my slope, always with an x, and now I have myself my equation. Now, last piece would be if you graph. This is a very short version of this. I do have videos that have been seen many times on this page. But if you're looking for an overview on graphing, we do two things. We look at your y-intercept and find that point on your y-intercept. -1 is one place below the origin. Now I look at my slope, 2/3. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. That's my rise and run. And I make my next dot. And at this point, I can go ahead and clean up all these arrows, which we don't need anymore, and I can make myself a nice clean looking line. And my line is graphed.